What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Snowy Kurama, and welcome to week 8 of LBL Game of the Week with your host Snowy Kurama. If you missed the last couple episodes, they are in the playlist on the channel. And this is the 8th week of me going through all of the games of LBL on my own and then picking out the best ones, in my opinion, from each of 3 divisions. So if you like what we're doing so far, hit that like, of course, only if you want to. It is really cool to see likes, and subscribe if you want some more of this stuff, and we will get to our dice roll. 1-4 is Midnight, 2-5 is Midday, and 3-6 is Dusk. Starting off with Dusk, it looks like. Up first is Jeremy versus Boaz 22. Now, I picked these games probably 2 weeks ago, so we're about to find out together why it is I picked them. Let's get into this. So it looks like we got Standard Sun from Jeremy here with an Iron Bundle. And then over here on Boaz's team, we have some pretty unique guys. We have an Ariados here, probably trying to webs. And Ditto is always great for reverse sweeping. Blaziken's a very cool guy. We've seen this Hoopa do some crazy stuff before the blunder policy. We can see now if he's trying to get off the same result. Let's go ahead and click that button. Leads first. Either Torkoal or Gliscor. Let's see, I'm going to pick one so I'm not just getting it 1/3 of it correctly. I'm thinking probably Torkoal. Gliscor might be better because of the Iron Treads, but Sun is also really cool, so let's go Torkoal. And on Boaz's team, I think he leaves Ariados to get up his webs and such. So let's check it out. We got Gliscor and Hoopa, so I was nowhere close on the Hoopa. The Gliscor is my second pick, so I get half a point for that. Terra types. Let's see, we have Terra fighting Raging Bolt. That looks to be that. And then Boaz's team, we have Terra Ghost Hoopa. I believe Hoopa's a Terra Captain. Terra Dark Ariados as well. Let's go ahead and get into this. You see a Ghost Terrestrialization into the Protect to get the Toxic Orb. And the Shadow Ball obviously does nothing. So another Shadow Ball into the Gliscor doing a ton of damage. We U-turn on out of there to get into the Slitherwing, probably going to First Impression this thing. We see a Stun Spore actually. This is why I picked it. Heat, Stun Spore, Slitherwing, ladies and gentlemen. You love to see it. U-turns onto the Clefable that came in. Screamtail comes on in, getting a speed boost on Photosynthesis. Goes out into the Iron Treads. Dazzling Gleam does nothing, of course. This is going to have to be a switch. Actually, we see a Flamethrower coming off on the Screamtail into the Stealth Rock. We see an Encore Stealth Rock. He's probably trying to Flash Cannon or... what's the move? Steel Beam, even though probably Heavy Slam would be better. But it won't work because of that Encore. Clef comes in. We see a Baton Pass right out into the Raging Bolt, which we will see Photosynthesis special attack for it, which is pretty good. Thunderbolt does not kill the Clefable, as we can see, and we'll see how much this Moonblast is going to be doing, which is a pretty good amount, and getting a special attack drop. Unfortunate for Jeremy, but it's enough to take out the Clefable. You see the, I almost said Trunks, Iron Treads coming in, threatening with an Earthquake. Slitherwing comes in to take that Earthquake. Ice Spinner instead. Probably expecting the Gliscor, which is not a bad shout, if I'm being honest. Ariados comes on in, Earthquaking this thing, gets it down to an okay amount of HP. You might not be a lot of attack on your Slitherwing here, unless this thing's very bulky. U-turn does quite a chunk to get the Torkoal in. Do we see the webs? We see the webs, and then this thing has, we see a Toxic Threat actually, getting this thing poisoned. A Yawn, Insomnia, so that blocks that pretty good. Hoopa comes on in to take Torkoal's place. Earth Power, I know that he was expecting the Rapid Spin, clearly. But we got a Spadaffe drop. Shadow Ball into the Torkoal, getting that thing killed. We will now see if this thing... Actually, we can see. Pointed stones to the Torkoal. This thing is clearly Heat Rock. Screamtail comes in, might try to... Let's see, Flamethrower, maybe Dazzling Gleam? Protean's special defense up. Shadow Ball does almost all the damage it needs, and then a Flamethrower to hit back pretty hard. Shadow Ball outgoes the Screamtail. We see a Slitherwing coming in. Do we see a first impression? We don't. Well, maybe we do. We see a U-turn actually, getting rid of this Ariados on the switch. Gliscor comes on in, takes some damage from the rocks, but it doesn't matter because that toxic, stupid heal. Poison heal. That ability recovers way too much, in my opinion. That's a lot of recovery that it's just getting. Anyway, you see a Blaziken getting a ×2, or a +2 boost to its attack with the Swords Dance. Very lucky that the Earthquake didn't just straight up kill. We have the speed boost here as well. Blaze Kick, killing this Gliscor. Getting another speed boost. We see Slitherwing come in. Do we see the first impression this time? We do! Getting rid of that Blaziken. Massive threat. Hoopa comes in, and then a Shadow Ball will take down the Slitherwing. The Raging Bolt comes on in. Do we see a Thunderclap? We just see Terra fighting. Shadow Ball knocks it out. No Thunderclap. Iron Bundle versus the World. We see a Freeze, and then a Thaw on the Hoopa. And that's the game. That was some bullshit at the end there, wasn't it? It looks like I picked this game mainly because of the Stun Spore guy here. This Ariados is kind of cool too with the Toxic Thread. And Hoopa is always lovely to see on these. So great game to these guys. Top 3 will be Midnight, bottom 3 will be Midday. 4, which I believe is bottom 3, so Midday. What's that, you say? Sound of Snow is featured way too often on this channel? I don't know, whatever you could mean. Anyway, here he is against Circle Button. With this team of Meloetta, we have another Slitherwing. Morpeko is making an appearance, I suppose, because it's a Pokemon on Circle Button's team. Gouging Fire, Regidrago, forgot its name for a second. Like, I know it's the dragon one. It's not Registeel. And then we have Standard Snow Bulky BS team. Let's see what happens. Oh, I didn't even declare leads or nothing. We see a Morpeko, so we can at least see what Snow's gonna, or say what Snow's gonna lead with. Probably Diancie. Probably Diancie, get up some rocks, maybe hit a bunch of Diamond Storms, we'll see. Circle Buttons, Terra types. I think it's Terra Normal Meloetta. And that looks to be it. Snow has Terra Grass on Diancie, Water on the Glastrier. That seems to be it, unless we have Grass on Serena, but I don't think Serena's a Terra Captain. Anyway, we see a Morpeko, as I said, probably Diancie. Manaphy instead, never mind. Manaphy comes out and Serena takes its place. Aura Wheel, which would have probably done a bit to the Manaphy. To raise the Morpeko's attack, Hunger switches out into the Hungry mode. We go to see a Gouging Fire. We see a U-turn and go into Diancie. We see a Dragon Dance coming up on the Gouging Fire. Diamond Storm doing a chunk, not getting the, what's it called? The defensive boost on that, which is unfortunate. We see an Earthquake, nice call on Snow's end, calling that Earthquake into the Diancie. See a Diamond Storm killing that Gouging Fire, and there's the defense boost that we were looking for. Meloetta comes on out. We see a Calm Mind. Then we see another Diamond Storm. No boost this time around. We see a Terra Normal Hyper Voice almost killing that Diancie. Diamond Storm does a chunk to that Meloetta. And we see a ×3 boost to... This would probably be what? +6? Not 6. I can do it. +3, probably, right? I think it's +3. Someone correct me, please. So we see a Psych Up from the Meloetta, copying the boost on the Diancie. Getting rid of that Calm Mind, unfortunately, but we see that it's back up with the Calm Mind. Draining Kiss, not doing a lot to the MELOETTA. We see a Manaphy switch here. Another Calm Mind. This thing is +4, I'm going to say, defense, +2 special attack, and +2 special defense. We see a Hyper Voice coming off, doing almost all of the damage to the Manaphy, and a Light Screen, which would help out quite a bit, but we see a Hyper Voice killing off the Manaphy here. Glastrier comes on in, Hyper Voice doing nothing. Body Press also doing nothing, even though that's a super effective hit on the MELOETTA, and Glastrier, I think defense stat's pretty big. And it's also super effective because of Terra Normal. Just showing you how the defense boosts are really helping Circle Button out here. Calm Minding again, we are getting boosted. So that is confirmed +4 on the defense. Hyper Voice almost kills the Glastrier. Body Press does nothing again. And then we see another Hyper Voice getting rid of the Ice Horse. Harapagos comes on in to replace. We see a Terra Starstorm doing nothing. Hyper Voice Terra Shell blocks the Hyper Voice quite a bit, but considering that's a light screen up too, that's just showing Stab, Terra, normal Hyper Voice, +3 special attack. Nothing you really want to mess with. Terra Starstorm doing a lot of damage. Hyper Voice getting an unfortunate crit on the Terrapagos. And the light screen's gone too, folks. Slowking gets Shadow Balled right in the face. Living it, setting up a Trick Room. Hyper Voice getting rid of the Slowking, which means Snow either pressed the Trick Room to sack it off for one of these two guys to come on in and do something, or maybe he clicked some other low priority move. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, if that was intentional or not. Serena comes on in, gets off a Play Rough, doing nothing. Hyper Voice killing the Serena. Not even Trick Room will stop this MELOETTA. Dancy comes in, Diamond Storm doing nothing, and MELOETTA don't care. MELOETTA don't care, ladies and gentlemen. That is week 9 for Midday, and we see a reverse sweep. I don't know about reverse sweep, but we do see a psych up craziness from this MELOETTA. I did something similar in a Mix and Mega League against a dude who would always boost up his Slowbro, so I just psyched up his Slowbro and had stored power and just smacked him around. So seeing this was very nostalgic for that moment. Very good game to these guys. Our midnight game, last but not least, we have Inversify versus Table Guy. That rhymed unintentionally. So we see a Palafin, Tornadus, a bunch of other guys. We see a silly boy here, Quagsire, and that's enough of that. So what do we think we're leading with? Maybe the Palafin to get up the hero form, but I could also see maybe a Swampert lead to get up some hazards. On Table Guy's side, probably the Meowscarada to press the U-turn, maybe even Cinderace could do it too. Or possibly the Thundurus expecting the Palafin. And if this thing has Grass Knot, it'll do a lot to the Swampert. I don't know if it gets Grass Knot, I think it does. But I'm going to go Thundurus and Swampert, and we'll see. We see Meowscarada and Swampert, so I got half of them here. And Terra types, we have Flying on Thundurus, I think, is what it looks like. And then that's it for Table Guy. And Adversify has the Terra Grass Kommo-o. U-turn into the Swampert, doing a little bit of chip here. We see the Blastoise coming on in. We see a counter Swampert. Pretty heat. Probably has the Rindo Berry to live that. Iron Defense, we see a Stealth Rock coming off of the Swampert. We flip turn on out of there to probably see a... Oh, we see a Palafin. I was expecting the Poison guy, Toxtricity. And then a Roar to just get up the free hero form. Pretty good for Adversify, I would say. Into the Metagross, we see Tornadus coming in here. We see a Body Press doing a pretty big chunk to the bird here. Protecting, just to see what he's going to go for. We see a Bleak Wind Storm coming off of the Torn. Bleakwind Storm coming off again, getting that speed drop. Iron Defense is up. Not really going to do too much for the Blastoise, I don't think. We see a Roar coming off, and we see a Como coming in from the switches that were happening. We see another Roar. Table guy is not letting Inversify stay in with what he wants to stay in with. Flip Turn doing absolutely nothing to this. +3 Blastoise. Body Press doing a solid half to the electric type. Overdrive knocks this thing out, of course. We see a Cinderace coming in, probably to a Pyro Ball. We see a U-turn, actually. Makes more sense. And a Thundy probably has the Grass Knot, or Terra Flying, rather, to knock out this Swampert. Pretty good. See Metagross coming on in. See the Quagsire. Then Psychic Fangs. I don't know what that was for. Probably just to have a good Psychic Stab attack. And then we see a red card being activated from the Quagsire to get in the Como. Pretty good stuff here. See a Scale Shot coming off. Raising up that defense stat. Nope, speed stat. And that's clearly loaded dice. Either that or Inversify is just very, very lucky. We see the Meowscarada coming in. This thing might be Scarfed considering, or maybe he's trying to get off a Sucker Punch. See Toxtricity coming in. Either way, we see a U-turn coming off. Not killing the Toxtricity. Then we see the Flying Guy coming in. The Thunderous Volt Switch finishes off the Toxtricity. Into the Meowscarada. What do we see on Inversify's team? We see a Metagross coming in. So knock off. We see it losing the Weakness Policy. We see a Meteor Mash coming off of the Metagross. I am blanking on names. Oh my. An Agility would have been really, really cool to see coming off of this thing, but getting rid of the Meowscarada is also very, very good. You see Cinderace coming on in here, probably sacking off this Metagross. Yep, you see a Sucker Punch. I don't know if Metagross has priority or anything. Maybe Bullet Punch. Either way, the Metagross is gone. We see the Tornadus taking its place, and then a Bleakwind Storm takes out the Dark-type Cinderace. The Latios comes in. We see a Taunt, so it can't use the Calm Mind. We see a Bleakwind Storm coming off. Stored Power doing absolutely nothing, so this is probably a Calm Mind Weakness Policy set of its own. The Latios is not going to be able to set up because of the Tornadus' taunts. No recovering either. Very masterfully played by Inversify. We see the Tornadus coming, not the Tornadus, the Thunderous coming in, dying from a Heat Wave, and that is the game. I think that I picked this game purely off of the taunt play from the Tornadus. That's pretty good. That is pretty dang good. And Red Card is not something I see very often. It's probably an item that should be used more often, in my opinion, by me as well. But that's a very good game in Midnight. Getting into the stats, we see Saiai's Iron Valiant still standing tall at 15 kills and 5 deaths. Iger's Iron Moth has climbed up to second with 12-1. Jirachi Enjoyer's Zamazenta is 12-6. We have Inversify's Como coming up to 10-5, and then Leganen's Hydreigon making an appearance at 10-5 as well. In Midday, we have Ditto's Hisuian Arcanine at the tippity top with 16-2. Elwan's Raging Bolt at 15-5. Ditto's Landorus coming in at third and 13-5. Snex Torterra coming in at 12-0 with the nice sweep of, what's it called? Shell Smash, I'm sure. And then Holy Macaroni's Hydreigon making an appearance at 12-3. That is 2 Hydreigons in a row at the top. Can we see the same thing in Dusk? It's looking like that's not the case. But we do have Mr. Ric Flair's Porygon Z just terrorizing and terrastalizing all over Dusk at 17-5. Boaz's Hoopa at 16-1. Egotistical Elekid's Terrapagos at 16-5. Jeremy's Gliscor hitting the 15-4. And William D's Roaring Moon at 15-5. So at least the 5th place Mon from each division is a Dark and Dragon type. There's that. We are closing in on playoffs as this is week 8 in this 9-week season. We have Iger at the top here at 7-1 with 21. Saigai is 5-3 at 8, so Iger is clearly safe from being knocked down from his throne up here. Martin Vitran at 5-3 as well, plus 8, so these two are fighting for second at this moment. Table Guy is 5-3 plus or -1. He might be able to overlap one of these two if their game does not go very well. And Versify is here with 4-4 plus 5. And it looks like all of the positions in Midnight might be secure. I mean, Lies of J could still pop up, it looks like, if any of the guys ahead of him don't do very well. Same thing with Jirachi and Joyer. I think KJ and Leganon, unfortunately, are out. KJ might be able to pull it if enough people ahead of him do badly, but I honestly think that these two guys are, I think next week's their last week, unfortunately. So 10 place and up could have a chance in playoffs for Midnight. Over in Midday, we have Holy Macaroni at 7-1 plus 6. Ditto right behind him, 7-1 plus 24. Sound of Snow no longer in that tight-knit grouping in Midday at 6-2 from what we saw from Circle Button. But 6-2 plus 10 is still very good and definitely stays in the playoffs. Driver 79 at 5-3. We have Sneck at 4-4 plus 3. This guy went from taking the bottommost team and taking it all the way up into playoff contention. How does he do it, folks? Someone let me know. Stish right behind him at 4-4 plus 2. I went down farther than I usually do, but it's okay. We can take a look at who's going to get in from Midday as well. I think 10 and down are probably not going to do it. Yeah, 10 and down are not going to do it. Not Awan and Kayla. Nope, Kayla is in at this moment here, it looks like. So Awan does have a chance to get in if he does very well, or just well enough, and Kayla and Whelmed, even just Kayla. If Kayla doesn't win her match and Awan does, then it looks like these two will flip-flop places. If Whelmed does terribly enough and Kayla and Awan do well enough, then she could be kicked out as well. I think everybody else is pretty good to stay up. Maybe Sneck and Stish might go down a couple of places, maybe just one each at the worst. But I think that Midday is pretty locked in with who's going to be in the playoffs. Last but not least, we have Dusk. We have Boaz, 22 at 7-1 plus 20. He's been rocking that first place spot, I think, damn near the entire time. Rafmon has been climbing the ladder, gunning for that first place spot in 6-2 plus 15. Mr. Ric Flair right behind him at 5-3 plus 12. William D also making a climb at 5-3 plus 7. And then Jeremy at number 5, 5-3 plus 5. I think he used to be up at the top at some point, but looks like he kind of went down, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things since playoffs is place 8 and up. So looking at this, we see Naukol right behind him, so these guys are all pretty good. Naukol, Egotistical Kid, and Deadpool, they're gonna make it, it looks like. Mars could sneak up into the playoffs if he does well enough, and I think Jeremy on down, if they don't do well enough, I think Mars could take their spot, or at least whoever ends up in 8th or 9th or what have you. Roy Johnson, I'm not entirely sure. The distance between him and Mars is pretty great, so I don't think that 10 through 12 can get in, but I mean, anything could happen. If Mars does... Nope, never mind. Never mind. Places 10 through 12 is not going to make it in, because if Mars loses, he's 4 or 5. If Roy Johnson wins, he's 3-6. So 10 through 12 is not going to make it into playoffs, but Mars could potentially make it in, and any of the guys from probably Jeremy onto Deadpool could potentially get kicked out if Mars does well enough. So that is your standings and an additional who might make it into playoffs. Now for the Pickems trends, we see Midnight taking a big ol' step down, getting cut right in half at 33%. There might have been some upsets. There was one, what's it called, forfeit loss in week 8, I believe. There might have been. I didn't really mark that down very well on my sheet, but there is definitely some upsets in here. And then we have Midday at 41%, probably 42% that I'm going to put on there because it's 41.67. I think there is some on one of the matches was a tie and who was going to win and who was going to lose, and another one I think was a bunch of people voting for me for no reason. I appreciate the confidence, but I'm washed this season, ladies and gentlemen. Your boy's not doing very hot. And then Dusk, we have the best one of the week at 58%. I think it was pretty solid on who was going to win. There was a couple of upsets, it looks like, but it wasn't by too much, or too many points, rather, in the voting. So that is your Week 8 Pickems. Next week is the final week in the main season for LBL Games of the Week, as well as the LBL League, obviously. So after that, we will be covering the quarters, the semis, and the finals of each division, picking out the best games from each one, except for the finals, of course, where there'll just be the one, probably, continuous stream of them, honestly. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Did your game make it? I don't think I've ever asked that, but did your favorite game of the division make it into Games of the Week this week? Let me know. Like this video if you have not already. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the channel, and only if you would like to, of course. Hit that bell so you know what it is I'm uploading. My bad. And all that being said and more, this has been your boy, Snowy Kurama. I will see you for Week 8 of Games of the Week. Goodbye.